You haven't had those material before, right? So this is the first time you go on to this material. Am I correct? The courses.
Oh no, this is my first time.
First time, okay. So we'll to some degree we'll walk through it and we'll play by ear what they are, and then ask question anytime because that's more your session rather than my session. So I'm here just to clarify, make sure when you need the session you feel very, very comfortable with the material.
Maybe you can ask them also that, I guess the training, what your expectations are, like the time spent here, so we can be ready, you know. So give us an idea after this few hours, what you expect to live with as a trainer. Any sort of comment on that?
So after today, then we will see what are the changes that we need to do before we can do the training themselves, conduct the workshop, right?
So there'll be another training session for.
I don't know, I'm thinking like maybe after today, then we can have a meeting with the whole group and then see whether they think that is enough or whether they need any other specific changes before they can conduct the workshop. That's my feeling, right?
And I think everything is work in progress. Even though you are actually formative and summative evaluation, whenever you do it and then you modify it.
Yeah.
And also I think we have assumption of their target groups. They are doing public education, community education. So I'm thinking that this one will be adapted to family members to self-help by the program. So there will be another, because their problems and stress will be different. So assuming that what they are going to do is that the youth, the newcomers, and general people in the communities.
Yeah, I guess my expectation is more like how I wanted to see the flow. Right, I wanted to see how your flow looked like because I always do stress management, but it's not only stress management. I get invited to the community, do holistic health and stress management. So I always go that way. I always go holistic health and then I talk about stress and then, right, my flow is you know, that's how I do it. Maybe my expectations today is just to see, to see how your flow like and if that's answer majority of my audience. And I can perhaps mimic your flow. So it gives me a change instead of just starting with my holistic health and spending a lot of time holistic health, then go to stress management.
And the other thing is that the reason that we don't have a copy of an e-copy of this one is because this is still evolving, right? Because I want to see after today whether you have any suggestions, recommendations that we need to put into the menu before you will have a copy of it. So you will all have a copy of it. Okay, it's just that I'm not sure whether there are any changes after today. So your feedback on the menu is also one of the expectations from us so that we can make sure that this is a good copy before we go.
Sorry, I want to get some more background. Now we have a brochure. Our plan is that this is more in-depth 5 section, right, for the audience. But we are planning to have, based on all this information, to have one hour presentation.
Yes.
Right, so that will be different forms. For people coming to these 5 sessions, they are really in the learning how to manage the stress and more in there. So and also other multimedia because it's only the flow. But then any other PowerPoints, any other tools that will complement, or even you take some video clips about the scenario. So we'll be coming, but then this is the first time we walk through the content and see what we need to kind of like enhance it.
Yeah, and I think that's a very valid point. Sometimes you don't have an hour with someone, you don't have like certain time with them. So in stress management perspective, tell me in a conversation, tell me in a certain time frame, right? So I wanted to pick up that skills as well. So it's better flow. So, and then we also on the same page. Like I can be a different style and she can be a different style.
I guess another end it really depends on the target audience.
Yes.
When I'm thinking about youth, I wouldn't put as much time on the actual idea of those stresses, but more practical in terms of coping strategies. Because that's more practical and they could actually
the very first thing, that's very good. I think that's very good feedback. I think as one thing about as a trainer is to really understand your role, what role you're playing. Because sometimes when problems come up during the session, we tend to, if we don't remember our role, we may change our role. Like we said, a trainer, or are you a caregiver? Are you a counselor? Are you a consultant? In a sense, are you a service provider? So as a social worker or social worker and so on, so you really have to know what role you're playing in that session. A problem come up, you're so eager to help that problem, and then you may lose track that all of a sudden you switch the role from a trainer into a counselor. Or off session, you may invite the person out and do something, helping the person otherwise. And that kind of role shifting, you will have to be aware in the sense of knowing your limit, your boundary, how far you can go, how much you can do. Because if you're not careful, you may not be able to finish the material, or you may lose sight of the whole class, and then the sacrifice of the whole class for that person. So that's very important for you to realize that. Now, let's go through what we have on the screen right now to give us an overall view of what's going on. Now, 5 sessions, you have 10 hours. 10 hours is not too many hours you have. At the end of the day, the session, what we would like you to do is to realize what we try to achieve. Or for the workshop, that the 5 or 6 questions you have there basically help you to decide what you want to achieve in the workshop. The workshop has deepened my understanding of stress management. So one objective is to help the student to understand what is stress management. Now, whether they're doing it successfully or not, that's how much they practice. But understanding is important. They understand it. It may not mean they can manage it, but at least the understanding. I found this workshop is practical and I can apply it to my daily life. That's, I think, to Ken's point. Young people versus older people, they may apply it differently. So this is more tailored to the type of audience you have. I'm able to understand and grasp all the concepts taught in the workshop. We tend to jam a lot of stuff in the workshop. That's one thing personally I tend to be very careful. That it's not about the head knowledge only. It's about the practical, the concept taught behind. So we'll go through that. As Emily said, the overall concept about stress management, I think is much more important than the detailed nitty-gritty of the workshop. The workshop has met my expectations, so everyone comes with expectation. It's a good thing to know if they have met, if that will meet the expectation. I will recommend this workshop to others, so that gauge how well we have this workshop for the people. So that's basically what we aim at, and if you scroll down, and that's about the instructor, about you as a trainer, with how your ability to express, explain, and teach. Creative to use various teaching methods. There's some suggestion over here about the methods. Ability to facilitate classroom atmosphere, your voice, and whether it's fun, everyone fall asleep and so on. Ability to encourage participants to ask questions and to reflect learning. It's not like the olden days, like top-down teaching anymore. It's nowadays postmodern teaching is more like interaction. You your voice is as loud as my voice and so on. Yeah, we're equal. We know this stuff. So it's more like exploring together, interacting together. So that is basically based on whether they can ask questions and interact with you. Caring to participants' learning and needs. Okay. Ability to address properly the participant's question and concern. Have demonstrated a deep understanding of the topic and its content. Ability to relate what's taught with practical daily life application. So you try to draw from the audience all the practical examples rather than using maybe some examples here. Some example here. So again, those are for references. Have demonstrated your passion in teaching or facilitating. Always help, that you are totally into it. We got this one. Have demonstrated good organization of pre-workshop preparation. When you prepare the workshop, basically how well you use the material. The material is basically a guide for you to do the training. I have to say a lot of this material, 90% of it come from you folks. It's your experience. Basically, you make our job much easier is to collect your stuff and then we organize it based on the flow, the overall concept, and we organize it in such a way. So we're going to go through session 1. I will go through session 1 and 2 with you. And then Vincent will go through session 4 and 5 with you. 3 and 4, and 5.
Can I mention, since we have a question, can I mention that the other people's question as well?
Okay, yeah.
So it's the one before this one.
Previous page.
So I guess as part of this question is more like evaluation of each session, right? So that your participants can tell you how it goes and as a facilitator and as the workshop content. The one I'm going to talk about now, not this one, but the one yeah.
Previous page.
The idea is that although as mentioned there may be custom bank, they have no time and you just do 1 hour, so that may be something that you have to work out. But assumingly that you do all the 5 workshops, right? I guess Hong would like to know, or the government would like to know how effective this is for the participants. So we have put in a questionnaire where before they even started the first workshop, they would do a pre-question. Then they would do one after all 5 workshops are done, not after each one. And hopefully maybe after 6 months, we just want to look at long-term effect. And when I go through this questionnaire, you will see that it actually encompasses basically what we hope they will learn about stress management. And some are more like knowledge-based, some are more like actually practice because we call it application. When you know it, but they don't do it, then there's something which needs to happen. So I'm not going to go through all the questions, but let me just select a few for you to know what the emphasis is, right? For example, question 1, am I aware of my level of stress? Because we talk about the scale of stress level. So they will do one before and say, maybe I'm not, maybe I am, and hopefully after the workshop they're more aware of it, right? So question 1, 2, 3 are more knowledge-based, right? Number 4, can you tell good and bad stress? Okay, so you see that all these things are being covered in session 1, basically, right? For example, question 7 is like behavior. I keep a stress diary to monitor my stress level. So they may have no use of the diary. Hopefully after the session they actually start practicing. So there's a behavior measure, right? Number 11 is a knowledge question. I know my healthy diets are. In one workshop, they're healthy eating, right? So they may not know about this before the workshop, now they know more, right? The question 12 is that I eat healthy. Have they translated that knowledge into practice? Okay? So let's go down a little bit. Okay, for number 16, we're going to relaxation, right? Number 16, understand how relaxation can be used, right? 17, I know what are the commonly used relaxation techniques, right? Now, of course, for some 18 is and plenty of practice questions. Do they actually do it on a routine basis? Okay. Equally, if we go into the CPT stuff, cognitive aspect of the stress management. For example, if we understand the relationship between thinking, emotion, behavior, that's the knowledge question, okay? Or and identify, am I aware of the urban thinking, okay? Number 30, do I apply those in my daily stresses? So basically, all those 30 questions encompasses all the 4 workshops. The 5th workshop is actual summary. So all the 4 workshops, knowledge-based, understanding, and behavior. That's why the pre is important. Assuming they have less knowledge and practice post, hopefully they will have more. But are they sustainable? Are they 6 months? So that's something that we want to encourage you to use if they apply or learn qualified workshops. If they don't, you might have to stop.
Any question on what we try to achieve at the end of the day?
So I have like 1 or 2 questions. First of all, the concepts, which is PT, to my understanding, academic analysis, because our target is like more lay people out there. For instance, attribution theory. So that is a really big conflict theory or whole system theory. I just worry about that whether they can really understand even after 5 workshop. Will it affect the results?
Yeah, well, we can all revise it, but I think the idea is that they would not have heard about it unless they assumed it before
Yes.
the workshop.
Correct.
And they will have some understanding. So if there's a move in the scale from 0 to 2, that's not bad.
Not that bad. It may not go to 10. It may not go to 10. So it's from 0 to 2. That's an improvement already. So we're not looking at 10. All the it's an incremental from 1 to 2. That's good. That's really good. From 1 to 3 is better. 1 to 4 is great, and you can use all this fabulous, excellent.
And some questions are more touching basic stuff, and some are maybe a little bit more sophisticated. So I think we'll see.
But I think in general we can test out whether not this kind of like special like terms is maybe into them, but as a whole, the choice of word, the level of difficulty of choosing the words is like it can be commonly apprehensible by general public. Usually, as I mentioned, the problem is that trying to use the kind of wording that is like grade 4 level, so that people who are not really literate can understand, because it affects the validity of the questionnaire, right? Because they can grasp the concept, but they don't understand the language. So maybe we can test out a bit with like common people.
There's some pilot studies good, just a few people, like
Yeah.
a few.
May I ask one question? This one, I think you're going to translate it into different languages.
Yes.
Maybe if I translate it into the Mandarin, if I go translate Mandarin, can I choose some letter, don't just translate a few or
Yeah,
two?
that is also the translation issue. Right? We may for the hope, right? We have another scale, hope scale. So we do the back translation to make sure that we translate the Chinese and then back to English, so that we make sure that even we use other terms, it's a standard practice to do it back translation.
My question is different. My question is, can I change it?
That's the back translation issue. If you change it and then another person back translate your Chinese back to English.
Okay.
Let me finish first. So if you use different words in order to show the
So
population.
your question,
My
instead of using all 30 of them, can I just use 10 of them?
Yes.
That's your
My
question.
question is, some like, do I do relaxation exercise regularly for my community, for the people I know? I don't think they do it. Even the 10 session, they don't do it. So why would still put there?
Okay, my answer to you is we go through the material, and I think those are hinge on what you want to cover in your material. So for Mandarin speaking, basically you have to translate this manually in Mandarin. When you translate this Mandarin, probably you will find that if you may pick and choose what's applicable for the 5 sessions. And then once you customize your manual into Mandarin, hopefully it's very close to what we have here. Once you customize it, then you when you translate this, because as Vincent said, all these are basically hinge on what we cover here. So if you change that, we don't recommend you cut down the number of questions.
Okay,
The reason for that is because a few of them are keyed on the session here. If you decided not to use that session or change it, then you can change it there.
yeah, but then I have a last question. Then if we use all the standard, the same, exactly the same, but this one I think may not suitable for the Mandarin community.
Yeah.
If we all use the same one, maybe the pre and the post test, the Mandarin community just improve 3 or 4, and the other community because differently they may increase 10 or 20. So
I think that's really an important question we have to address. The concept we have, okay? Using a standard questionnaire is important because we are comparing apples to apples. If you change it, then we cannot compare. There are a couple of things. First of all, the content we standardize to some extent, but we do adaptation using different examples, different culturally sensitive or relevant examples. And supposedly you deliver everything, okay? So assuming that you are delivering as effective as others, so then for the rating of the instructors, it's reflecting your facility skill, that is okay, right? And then for certain parts, if there's no movement, no change, we reflect the cultural component, the cultural specialty in that communities. So we can identify from the questionnaire, we may change, make more modification. If you deliberately take out some of the questions, we cannot detect whether that part is really relevant to your communities. So we have to make modification afterwards. That's why I said that it's not in progress. For instance, for some relaxation techniques, may apply to Korean but not apply to Vietnamese. So we have to create that kind of evidence, right? What exactly there so that we can make modification and changes with evidence, with basis. That is really important because if we want to do it as evidence-informed practice or we have to present to others or other organizations, we have to know whether this is a scale that we use and how we test the validity and reliability.
I think those are good unanswered questions, but let's not over-focus on it for now.
Yes.
We do some piloting anyway, and we down the road to get some feedback. So can we let the rest for a while, and then we can always revisit that at some point.
My comment on that is that it's not so much about, I think that I can sense the stress level in this room is going up already.
You're so smart.
The idea is not about how well the trainer is doing. It's how much we want to detect the learning process of the audience, whether they're learning it. Of course, it may relate to how we deliver it too, but very much about how whether they have any movement in everything we taught here. We are teaching here. If there's no movement, it's a very good feedback for us to custom make the material even more for their need. So understanding that then probably help us to relax and deep breath and then
There's a lot of questions and a lot of, I don't know how well, like how they will be able to give to you. Like even a few questionnaires, they already complain, right?
Yeah.
And like I can see, maybe my Vietnamese is not good, but like a lot of things, like I'm aware of my automatic thoughts and I'm aware of central form. Those words translate to Vietnamese. Sometimes it might not be able to reflect that. That's only one of my comments.
Okay, so let's put it out there for now, and then and when you do the translation, again, my comment is that it's good that sometimes they don't know that they are awesome, and then they put 0 there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very good. I think it's even if they come out with all 0 of them, that's good. Then that means sooner or later, afterwards there must be some 1 or 2. You cannot go lower than 0.
0.
Right? So again, it sounds intimidating to them,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it works positive. It may work positive for you too, in a sense of wow, this is what I may be able to learn. Some of they may be curious of what are they, and then they start to pay attention to your session.
Yeah.
What it is. So you work either way. So I would say, so put it there, and I know there's probably a few revision, and then when you do a translation, you may decide, wow, this we may not want, since we cannot translate this, we may want to take it out completely and so on. But this is at least a good starting point for you to have.
Yes.
Well, I think these are good for if we are delivering the workshop for service provider.
Yes.
Because from time to time, actually frequently we got requests by service provider to deliver workshop on stress management. In fact, many organizations already approached me to ask whether we can do that. So I think this set of questions is higher level and maybe is more better meeting the need of that sector. Maybe not the general.
Okay, should we move into session 1?
Yeah.
Okay, there are 4 sessions per se.
Okay, meaning that do you want to use the screen or you want to use the keyboard?
You said
The hard copy is to read that.
the hard copy, you want visually up there or hard copy? I'm fine, hard copy is fine. So if you cannot follow, why don't we do that? Follow the hard copy, right enough time, rather than your head turning into the screen, getting stiff neck at the end. And look at the hard copy and then ask question, interrupt right away, okay? I encourage you to interrupt right away because that's for you, not for me. Alright, I don't need to go through the whole session if you're okay.
What you need, Ken? You can share.
Okay, session 1 basically have a timetable. Again, I think this timetable, if you add up the minutes, session 1, introduction to stress management, and session 2, there's no table content. Session 2 is about relieving the sign and symptoms of stress, and workshop 3 is about relaxation. And then session 4 is session 17 is cognitive coping skills. So the heading you can shift depending the 4 sessions you have. Now you may have 2 days doing 2 sessions per day for 2 days, right? Or 4 sessions for 4 days. There's an impact on that. How soon you have the second session because of the flow, and the longer you have between sessions, you probably need to recap what they have learned. Well, everyone has good memory, but short. Okay, so we realize that we really have to refresh them again and again what they have learned. So I would say, I would suggest you will have 2 days, 2 sessions per day for 2 days. I think that could be better. On each session, there's an agenda about how the time is spent on each topic, the various topics within the session. The tool you need, so you may update that, look at that, and then if you need more tool, you'll just write it down, write it in yourself, and so on. And then as you need more and more, you will be able to fine tune it yourself. Learning objective, that's the key thing on each session, what you want to achieve. page 1, learning objective for session 1. Basically, Emily, to your question, is the overall concept is about the 5 I's for stress management. I use I because that's easy for us to maneuver, knowing where we are, and make sure you cover these 5 I's, you should be okay. Then on this session, the one who will identify the sign and symptom of being stressed, investigate the stressors, interpret the reason for the stressors. Now, when you look at 2, 3, and 4, it sounds like, well, I don't know where I am, what we're going to do. But once you understand number 1, the 5 I's, then you may be able to plug what you are teaching the audience, what you try to pass on, where are you within the 5 I's, okay? Go to page 2. Page 2, when you start, of course, you welcome the person, depending on the size of the group. Sometimes my experience and my observation is that sometimes we overrun the time there. Just a welcome, you spend 15 or 20 minutes right there. So be careful. When you welcome, when you mention about the basic rule, the direction, the washroom, and so on, be very concise. Or even sometimes give them a sheet of paper rather than,
But I think for I can only speak from my own experience. Because we were together for 5 sessions, I wouldn't mind, it's okay for them to go over 5 minutes because I want to get to know them. I think the relationship is very important.
yeah, that's the warm-up introduction and introduction, 20 minutes on that.
Yeah.
For icebreaking.
Yeah.
But the welcome, I just want to be careful.
Yeah.
Then you can overrun easily. Knowing what you want to achieve in session 1, you may be very you better be very conscious about the time you use. Sometimes I know that the warm-up exercise, you may say that here the suggestion is each participant take a turn to say their name. And then one thing that if I could change the world, and that sometimes some talkative audience can take up 5 minutes just to say that to you. Or you will have to be careful facilitating the time. People, imagine 20 times, even 1 minute. You use a 20-minute. Okay, when you introduce that, I would say you introduce the objective of the course is 5 I's to manage stress, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the overall concept of the 4 sessions. The first one is if you are being invited to speak in one session, like Li Ping, you mentioned about sometimes one workshop. Li Ping, are you listening? Okay. When you mentioned that sometimes you're invited to lead one workshop instead of 4 workshops, this is helpful here. Objective of the course is to identify the sign and symptom of being stressed, and then investigate the stressor, interpret the reason for the stressor, implement, initiate appropriate strategy, ensure and evaluate its effectiveness. When you're invited to speak on one session, it really depends what they want to know. Usually, you want to go through 1, 2, 3 really quickly, and then spend some time on the strategy, what they can do. And even within the strategy, you may just select 1 or 2 strategies, not all of them. One session, I would recommend you just to do that. Okay, so these are five things. We will say identify the sign and symptom of being stressed. I think I mentioned where to do. Oh yeah, okay. We will mention that. Okay, in session 1, we'll identify the sign and symptom of being stressed, the first I, and investigate the stressor. That's in session 1, 2. And then interpret basically the first one. The first session is to give them an overview of all these 5 areas. Now, if you cannot do it in session 1, you have to continue that on session 2, repeating because that's the overall concept to them. You got that? The five things. That's basically you keep repeating to them so that it really sink into them. If you want to do stress management, you really have to know the sign and symptom. You will have to know the stressor, what makes you stressful, and then the reason for the why you are so stressful, and then what can you do? What can you do? Now the rest of the session is basically get into more detail of each one. Identify the sign of symptom of being stressed, 30 minutes. That's on page 2. Of course, we don't know when they come what kind of background do they have, so we have to define what is stress. Defining the stress. There are 2 videos from YouTube. There's many. If you type in what is stress, there's many videos. We just pick one that's more funny, more lighthearted. And then there's another one, Fight and Flight. That one you may want to see whether this is appropriate to play. Now some of them I find that it may be not appropriate during that time. It may invite more questions. I would say you just play what is stress, 1 minute. That's very funny. And you can go to YouTube and get it. Now, when you go to YouTube, you can get it by typing it in. But I suggest you download it. Okay, download into your computer. Don't rely on internet. Don't rely on YouTube. They may take it out and so on. Yeah.
YouTube cannot be downloaded.
Oh, sure. I download a lot of songs.
Yeah.
A lot of songs.
You can download, you don't have to.
There's an app,
You may want to use YouTube.
legal.
Okay.
Legal.
A free YouTube downloader. That's a software. Okay, so I usually download all the karaoke songs, lots of hymns, leading worship. In the church, I just download songs.
Okay, so you can sing for us.
Yeah, sure. That's the end of the day. Okay, so we identify stress. Here, there's a few definitions about stress. Some of them are not definition, are just describing stress. You can pick and choose. You ask them what is stress. You may want to have some interaction. And when they give you an answer, don't say wrong, you know. That probably you know that already skillfully. Young people will say, well, what's more? Okay, how about, what is stress? And then you don't say no, you just move on to the next one and then do the summary. When you do the summary, you skip the wrong ones. Okay, when you do a summary. That's a skill we use, right? So after that, we talk about good stress or bad stress. And then again, there's a group discussion. If time allows, you find that they may start falling asleep. You may have a group discussion about telling the difference between good and bad stress. Yeah.
Question. It says here 25 minutes for please identify the signs of stress, but it says 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Just wondering like which timeline.
I think.
Oh, that would be better.
Oh, you should look at the first page. I didn't change the next one. What is the page? Which one is it?
Page 2.
Page 2? Okay, I need to change it because like.
Which one should we follow? The
first,
agenda one?
because I add on items on page 1. On the first page, I forgot to change the next one. Thank you for telling me that.
I think it add on the social support buddies,
Yeah.
5 minutes,
Yeah, so that is why.
not being shown on the first page. So,
Social support buddies, where is that?
okay, I think those could be fixed.
Yeah.
I think the identify sign and symptom of being stressed is 25 minutes. And then there's a 5 minutes allocated to the social support buddies.
Can I say something about this social support study? This is actually, we originally in the second section, it will talk about social support. But then I suggest to move it in the first section to start the social support network in the first section. And then they go all over the 5 sections. So in the first session, they start to put them into like group of 3 or 4 so that they stay together with the group, all 5 sections, and they can share their challenges, etc. within that groups. And that is actually to let them to experience the support. Even though if some of them will be isolated, they don't have any support outside the group, but then within the group, they can start to develop that kind of support. And so they can also suggest ways how to relax, etc. And we are trying this in the self-esteem group, and it's working really, really well. And they really building all the solidarity within the groups. So for the second section, so they can support each other between the sections. Say I don't know how to relax, or I need somebody to talk to, but then there will be some kind of liability, right? So today contact out of the group, something like that, we have to address that. But then within the group, they can do that. And so the next section, when we talk about social support, they can reflect on the experience in the first section. How are you supporting each other? So that is why we move that in the first section.
So we expect them to stay like in group like that outside
Like the
of
choices,
it?
yes.
So outside of
No.
the session? It's just
Within the
general.
section, but outside the section, then that is something the risk management we have to talk about, right? Should they exchange phone numbers? Should they go out to tea or anything? And then what is the like? They can do that, but then we have to say that is your
So we established that in the beginning.
yes.
Yeah, whatever happened in the group, we're responsible.
No, I mean not within the group that we are responsible.
Yeah,
but
but
out of the
outside,
group, yeah.
we're
That's
not.
why in the first session we need to stay
Yeah.
the liability, right? They have the freedom to
Yes.
communicate, but it's not our
Yeah.
right.
Okay, let's come back here, okay? You will realize that there are 25 minutes allocated to that. But do you realize also that that actually you can just use 5 or 10 minutes to go through that? If you want to have a didactic teaching, right? Good presentation, just tell them, right? What's good, what's bad, and then so in 5 minutes you can go through that. Now that's good news in the sense that in case you run out of time in warm-up exercise, people late and so on. This is where you need to have the sense of yourself, right? Of where to cut. And you don't cut out the session, but you change the way you present it. It's always a struggle how much you involve the audience for interaction. You want to have interaction, but it takes time. So when you run out of time, then sometimes you have to take out the interaction. So that's one thing I want to comment. Stress, okay, page 3, stress response. We talk about the stress response, fight and flight. Some explain to you in biological terms, some are very simple, no biology. So there's a YouTube there, again, 46 seconds to explain that. And then they explain about ready and relax, stage 1, 2, 3, how it mobilize the energy, consume the energy, and drain your energy. Now I'm doing that because I assume you know it. If not know, you read it yourself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So more about how you present it. Okay. And then the next page, page 4. There's an impact of stress on health. Again, there's a YouTube. You decide whether you want to use or not. And then after we go through good and bad stress and also how we respond to it, and we will go through the benefit of stress management. So let's say what's good about it, and then go through the five or 6 points: surgery, cancer, health-wise, anxiety, blood pressure, and so on. Well, I stop right here. Any questions so far? No? Okay. The next 15 minutes, we talk about signs and symptoms. That's the first I, right? Identify. And then the second I is investigate the stressors. There's an appendix, kind of stressor and where the stressor come from, and for your information, if you need them. And then there's an activity, the different phases of stress, participant name, list different kind of stress in different group of people. You separate into groups and then ask them to brainstorm about what could be the stresses for different groups. And then you can refer to the appendix again. For different groups, there may be different type of stressor for different group of people for ideas. Again, this is more interactive to get them involved so that they stay awake and use a discretion. The time control is important. My experience is that you don't want more than 4 people in any group. 3 to 4, that's ideal. 3 people to 4 people. And then don't give them too much time. That's my experience too. If you give them 10 minutes, they will spend the first 5 minutes just chatting. Give them 2 or 3 minutes, then they will realize that they don't have time to chat and work. And then of course after 2 or 3 minutes, you say 2 or 3 minutes, and then you may allow 4 or 5 minutes. But don't tell them they have 5 minutes.
Increase the stress.
Okay, that's the second I. The third I is interpret the reason for the stressor. All this are given them an overview, right? But at the same time, the emphasis of those sessions are not the first 2 I. It's the third and the fourth I is the most important thing. This is start going into the essence of your stress, of the whole session about stress management, because a lot of time people very stressed, they may not know why they're so stressful. It may go into a lot of other things, and that's where some of the other session, the CBT in session 4 is talking about. But here, because there are different kind of reason, we spend 15 minutes. Now, if necessary, this session and the other session, the other I, you may want to spend a little bit more time. That's the emphasis on session 1. Session 1 is about interpreting the reasons of the stressor and implement some of the strategies. You can skim the other stuff quickly, but not this too, alright? Interpret the reason, because a lot of time they don't know the reason. So what is this particular stressor causing you stress? And the concept we want to inject to them is stress response are triggered when you perceive a danger of threat. A danger of threat. So you ask the question, why is that situation causing stress to you? So there are some example I put in here. You can work on the formative again. Example 1, the demand. When the demand is higher than the resources that you have, then you have stress. Did I say that here? Okay, you may want to write it down. Oh yeah, on page 4 I did mention it. When you perceive a danger or threat, which most often transpire as insufficient resources to handle or meet the demand. So this is a point you want to get across to them. Really get across. Why are you stressed? Because sometimes it's just demand and resources. First example is I need $4,000 to cover my monthly expenses, right? And you're making only $3,000 per month. That's pretty stressful. And obviously, that's. I need 3 hours to finish the workshop, and I only have 2 hours. You have 2 hours to lead the workshop, and now you're running out of time. Yeah, that's stressful too. I need to be rich for people to respect me, and I do not make enough money to be rich. So that's stressful. I need to be slim for people to like me, and I'm too fat. So you can think of others. Okay, for young people, you may want to say something about the homework, friends, peers, and so on. I want a good cell phone, and then I have out-of-date cell phone. That's pretty stressful too.
Well, it'll probably come off different. Like my mom won't get me a cell phone.
Yeah.
It probably won't be I need it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so the fourth I, implement or initiate appropriate strategy. Basically, all through the whole session, we're talking about that strategies. In general, there are 2 types of strategy to manage stresses. I assume you know it already. And then we explain the word modulator, that concept to them. Modulator that try to relieve the sign and symptom of stress. And modulator is just another word for coping method of stress management technique.
So sorry, here actually I discussed with Stephanie about this word moderator, and I'm thinking how to translate in Chinese. So can I suggest us remove this term because use coping skill, right?
Sure.
It's already replaced with coping.
Yeah, that's okay.
Or managing skills, right?
You did not see the moderator here.
No, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
No. Be assured that you are go ahead. Whatever needed, change it.
Okay, yeah, because it's difficult to translate the word.
It's work in progress, right, Alan?
And also I'm working on the stress management translation. So in English it's easier, managing your stress, okay? And I think we use managing rather than coping, because coping is that you are trying to cope, right? So it's not a powerful work or empowering work. So we use managing.
Yeah.
So you manage it.
Yeah.
So I hope that we agree on this kind of concept. In that case, that you see, the materials we use managing skill or management, not coping. So is it okay we use management or rather than coping?
Doesn't matter to me.
Manage is good.
Mm-hmm.
Manage is good.
Yeah.
It's more positive and
Yes.
you can do something about
Right.
it.
Like the Harvard model, the self-management, cognitive disease self-management, right? So you manage it, so it's more empowering. So, and then that's why it's the language we agree to, then in the whole for the document and also the training, we use management skills. Is it okay? Mm-hmm. So then no moderator, no
Change it.
coping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there another term for managing? Because trying to manage something is stressful too. You know what I mean? You're managing something. You're like monitor things.
Okay, play with it.
Yeah,
Just saying.
if you have some more better
Yeah.
work, but then in the field, right now they use management, cognitive disease management.
Situation that when I'm trying to translate the brochure, like sometimes like managing doesn't sound
Very wide
because, like,
interface.
Because when you look at the flow of the
Yeah.
sentence, right? Sometimes managing doesn't.
Because
Doesn't
manage
exactly
something.
You can. Why don't you change it
Yeah,
to
I
stress
think it
reduction?
or be fine with your stress or something. It's just stress management translate to Vietnamese is very stressful. Yes, because you're trying to manage something, and already you're doing it, but you're trying to managing. It's like very stressful.
Interesting.
Yes.
So,
No, yes.
how about Rachel? So, because I know they in the field for chronic disease, they call management, right?
Yeah.
So, how does that to you? Because we also have to be understood by other people in the field.
Well, first of all, I also prefer managing than coping. This is more active, proactive, right? But it's also a good point because I never thought about that. We've been using managing for so long, and then chronic disease also say self-management, right? But I don't really have that knowledge.
Stress awareness. of that.
Awareness reduce, stress reduce, or something like that.
Awareness and reduction.
Reduction.
Yeah, and the brochure, there's actually two levels. One is reducing. Reducing try to not to reduce the stress, but sometimes, as you mentioned, it's inevitable. You have to face it. Then how to manage it, right? So we cannot be void of any stress. So except you come up with a better term, but then I think first of all, management is better than coping. And then if you have another term that's better than management, and so relax for people, then we can use it.
But
Understand
then
stress.
the underlying message isn't that isn't to relax completely. It's just to like you're
In
managing your
control.
coping.
Yeah, you
So
can-
I actually like using the word cope because in terms of stress management, like this whole conversation, the word coping is really important, and to kind of like maintain your mental health and to be in that. The word coping is actually really important.
And that's just in our mission, understanding stress, understanding mental health, right? So I think I don't like the word managing, just personally, because I'm trying to like sometimes do the flow of translation, it doesn't sound good.
So we have a couple of alternatives because now the brochure is out, right?
Yeah.
And we cannot just except you do another round of printing and we modifying it. But then it's translation piece as well, right? In Vietnamese or Korean or Chinese, that's why I'm working on it. So in Chinese, 處理 and 管理 is different. Right? 處理 we use 處理, right? I thought the 管理 is a better term. So in English management. Are we going to stick with management, or we have to change it? And then if you keep management, then in the translation piece, how can we translate the essence of the term, but then in a more relaxed, more appropriate way?
And I think it's like even people been using management for a long time. Nothing wrong with us using that. Make us different. Make us more approachable.
Yeah, because I feel like management is very like non-human word.
Yeah.
Like it could,
Let me try to
like it
manage.
could have the potential of like alienating like people's conception of
Yeah.
stress.
And once they cannot manage it because they're so stressed, it's such a failure thing, right? You know what I mean? Like I just don't.
But
I don't
that
know.
also applies to cooking. If you couldn't cook, right? So cook and also manage the same. So I think we have to kind of balance. We can open, for further discussion. So what I'm thinking is that for understanding awareness, it's only at the knowledge level. Manage and cooking is more like apply and you do something. So when we promote this workshop outside to the outsider, they have to understand through the title what you are doing.
What
Right, so
about
both sides.
understanding and managing stress?
Or understanding / coping stress.
Yeah.
Is
You know what I
fair
mean? You
enough.
have to understand it
But
first.
can we leave it to
Yes.
Hong Kong to iron that out?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, let's move on. We're running out of time, so now
I've been stressed, yes. Don't use my session.
Okay, implementing initiate appropriate stress strategy trying to manage. Here, that's where you don't want to cut time. Make sure they understand it. You can cut other things, but not this session, hopefully. In general, there are two types of strategy. Strategy is about, one is to relieve the sign and symptom. 治標不治本呢個叫做 即係國語點講啊？治標不治本。
一隻腰不治本。
OK.
What is it?
Maybe at least how to
That means you don't go into the root problem. The root problem is not solved, but the symptom, the sign and symptom, you just eliminate the sign and symptom. Like when the headache, the good example is when the headache, you take a Tylenol. But what caused the headache, you don't know. So the headache may come back, but you keep taking the Tylenol so that you don't feel it. You don't feel the symptom. So again,
And that's a good thing?
some of the strategies is to eliminate, to relieve the sign and symptom of stress. But some other thing is try to reduce and eliminate the stressor. So there are two separate things. You want to make sure that understand this concept. So you have session workshop 2 and 3 are all about eliminating, about relieving the sign and symptoms. And that may not be the ultimate solution, but at least they will get the immediate relief. The person may go to massage all the time or do meditation or take a shower, but it doesn't eliminate the stress. The stress probably every day come back, but every day is he or she is taking a shower to relax, so that's okay. But the stress is always there. The ultimate thing is try to reduce and eliminate the stress. That's a cognitive coping skill and problem solving skills. So you can play by ear. If you run out of time on workshop 1, you can steal some time in workshop 2 or 3, because those are probably you want to get them to involve in experience some exercise or do some about healthy living, social support, relaxation technique. Those give you more buffering time to do it. So it's okay if you overrun in session 1, you spill the session 2, and then session 2 spill the session 3, and so on. Here I give the same example, 1, 2, 3, 4, like before. The demand, again, I need $4,000 to cover my monthly expenses. Resource, I'm making only $3,000. Now, is it a real threat or imaginary threat? Good example is a real threat. So you can use problem solving skills to reduce and eliminate. Okay. Number 2, if you need 3 hours to finish the workshop, you have 2 hours. Again, it's real threat. Then you can use problem solving. You can reduce the content or extend the workshop. Somehow you can solve it. Okay, number 3 is more debatable. I need to be rich for people to respect me. You don't have enough money, so it's problem solving. You can still do problem solving. You can buy lottery, or you can work hard, and you can make a lot of money. Okay, if you perceive it as a real threat, then you can use problem solving skills. How to make more money.
I think this one, that's the work for my community. Now in the Mandarin community, not so rich people, but they don't win the respect.
Yeah. Yeah. So change it. You're adding more. But those are good, easy example for them to understand what's real and imaginary threat. Imaginary threat, you use cognitive coping skills to correct the system, the belief system. Number 5, again, the imaginative threat. You can, you don't have to be slim for people to like you, right? But so some of them they may say real threat. Then you solve the problem. Eat less. Exercise. Okay, so basically that's a problem-solving skill and the cognitive cognitive behavioral therapy. Those are two mainstream. One is if sign. Those are for reducing and eliminate stressor. So all this are for reduce and eliminate the stressor. And problem solving include, I think, a lot of areas. Like when we go to work, there are lots of training we go through all kind of problem solving. Decision making, use brainstorming, pros and cons, what's the best solution, and there's a lot of training on just on that. That could be a whole week training on decision making. Effective time management, how you manage time. So we don't go through that here, right, with the audience, but you tell them that if you want problem solving skill, there's a lot of other seminar you can learn. Effective time management, effective communication skills, conflict resolution management, financial management, and work specific. If presentation gives you a lot of stress, learn how to present, writing, managing, negotiating, assertive training, and so on. So a lot of this, somehow all those areas can give us a lot of stress in life. And the good news is that they can learn about family related skill, like parenting, grandparenting, and so on. Okay, I stop right here. Yeah.
About the imagined threat and the real threat. So, do we invite the client to define it themselves, or or we say we leave it later to
you will notice that we don't cover it anymore from other sessions. So I would say invite them to address it right here.
Okay.
Because we will not come back to this. We are more on cognitive coping skills.
So if they say, oh, I think this is actually a real threat to me, but we got, it's more like an imagined threat.
Yeah.
Is that like,
Could be.
Yeah, could have that.
There's conflict in the group.
So do we communicate that with them right there, or we wait?
Good question. I would let them decide.
Okay.
It's hard to judge whether it's a real threat to the person or imaginary threat. So you may ask, what do you think? Put the question back to them. That's the phrase I really like to use.
Yeah, but then they'll throw back. You're running the group. Well, they might not be agreeing upon the members in the group, and then they throw back at you, right? So.
Yeah. What you may want to say is a lot of time, my experience, my observations, a lot of time people interpret it as real threat. But actually, underneath is a belief system and so on. So a knowledge, okay, it's a real threat to you, it's a real threat. And now you can use problem-solving skill to do it. Try it. But if it's not working, after you try for a while, it doesn't work, you may want to explore whether there's other methods, like seeing a counselor or seeing a therapist, or talk to someone who you know, your peer, and then
Come back to me in like
And
5
then if,
weeks. Or 5 months, and then you tell me. Yeah.
I have one question about this, is that there's no room for discussing about why he has this thinking. It's not either it's real or imaginative. It's still blaming the person for thinking about that. But it's really the society make you think that way. There's no room for that discussion here. Either way, it's real or not real, it's still blaming the person.
Yeah.
Why are you thinking like that? And they're or it's not real, I just lose weight. So either way is bad for
This is
blaming.
probably a good group exercise.
Yeah. If you give them some of those, and then just ask, instead of telling them real or imagine, give them some of those scenarios, like young people about cell phone, about respect, and then what do you think? It's a real threat or imaginary threat?
So I think this is a good time to break through group and tell them to discuss this, and agree to disagree in their own group and then share. Right?
The whole idea
Everybody-
you want to be careful is when they come back, don't be the person making the decision
Yes.
whether it's real or imagined.
Yes.
Don't. If they think it's real, just listen and then nod and then. That's it.
Is it also possible that to keep those four into the section 4 and 5 on the CBT? Would that be example from them as well?
Yeah. You could.
Yeah.
But again, it's very. It sounds funny, but once they realize that you acknowledge their feeling,
Yes.
and they buy in, and then they will.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just split them out, agree to disagree in the group, and then share. And then that's
Because
it.
this is more subjective, I think.
Yeah.
And then if you pick up some scenario that it is imaginary threat, it's no way it's real threat. Okay, and then later on in the CBT session, you can change it a little bit. A similar example, that's a good thing you use that as a case study
Yeah.
to help them. But don't tell them, oh, because you said that, I used that.
Okay.
And that may offend them.
Okay.
Some is about face.
All about things. That's us. Trust me.
Okay. Problem solving skill, we tell them that it's available. You just encourage them. Don't get into time management and then spend time tell how to manage time. You're in big trouble if you go into problem solving, because that's not the objective here. It's for them to aware. Yes, there are resources there. Go for it. And then you can give them some website. Google. Uncle Google is very good. I love Uncle Google. You ask any question and the answer give you all the resources. Just start some research in Google. Okay. And then ensure and evaluate its effectiveness. I think that's what we have been doing. Encourage them to do it before and after. Homework. There's a stress diary for them to encourage them to do a diary of the stressor and why they're stressed and so on. And that's it. So, but the buddy part is missing here.
Yeah, social support stress
Oh,
level.
yeah, yes,
Right
okay.
underneath the
Yeah, okay.
evaluation.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. It's a different one. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Any questions on session 1? Most likely you'll run out of time on session 1. When I put it together, I found the time is
Very tight.
very tight. Yeah, especially, I think Emily, you're right. Usually, I like to spend a lot of the time connecting, joining, like counseling. And I think joining with the group and interacting so that they feel comfortable. So I tend not to rush the.
And why don't we make it 3 hours then?
Good question. Yeah. But the good news is that you can also overspill into the session 2. Okay, any questions? Am I supposed to have a break or we move on?
Well, actually, we are running out of time.
You want to
Okay.
wrap up the workshop too? This is
Okay, we'll work quickly.
Yeah.
Let's spend 10 minutes to wrap it up. Session 2 is the same thing about social support. The learning objective, page 7. The learning objective is describe and apply social support and also healthy living practice. So again, you want to emphasize at the beginning, this is about curing the symptoms, working on the symptom, not the root. Emphasize that almost every time, so that at the end of this 5 sessions, he or she will remember there's two main categories: 治標不治本，另一個係治本。The root cause. Workshop 2. Okay, we review the homework and we recap what we have learned about it. Again, go through the 5 I's. I would say every time we go through the 5 I's so that at the end they remember, or you can always tell them to memorize it, the 5 I's. Okay, implement and initiate appropriate strategy. We continue to expand on that. We don't use the word modulator again. Let me see. Is it the same as this one? Yeah. Okay, here basically tell them what workshop you're going to do. I think we did that in the last session too, right? So, yeah, we did mention that already. Implementing. So it's just like a summary. So you can go through that quickly about social support, healthy living in this workshop, and then the next workshop we're going to do this and so on. So that's page 8.
Can I supplement something about this section 2? The social support, right? So we talk about how social support is important in healthy care. But then there are healthy living, we have the exercise and also the healthy eating part, the recipes. So we didn't print everything because there's so many recipes there. And then I think I sent the video to about exercise, about 10 minutes. How to do exercise at home with the stress band. Joy cannot come today, but then next PNP meeting, I think we should allocate some time for her to explain the video, and also maybe we arrange some time for Samantha to come to talk about what healthy eating and how eating and stress related. So the focus is physical activity and stress, and then eating and stress. So people are stressed to keep eating, right? Emotional eating. So that will be some more like information from the clinical team, from the clinic team, not clinical team. So and that is something that we can move on there.
Okay, so I don't have much to say on session 2, but go through the title so that you understand what this session is all about. So social support, we talk about, also explain to them the importance of having a social support, what it is, and how they can develop a social support system. And there's an activity, a discussion about places to meet friends. It's more like for them to have discussion and involve them in the whole process. In session 2, more involvement to them, and kind of healthy living practice and the benefit they provide in stress management. About diet, and the appendix have a lot about diet, what to eat and how much, and benefit of healthy eating. The activity 10 minutes is a discussion about healthy eating, sharing of recipes and ideas for having healthy meals, and then about exercising, how much exercise they should do and so on. A lot of them they know it already. So it's just probably you want to get a sense of how much they know, and then talk about it. And so I would say the timing here is pretty loose in the sense. Just get the essence that they understand the importance of social support, diet, exercise, and so on. Rest, yeah.
I might, it's like we are trying to imagine a lot of those like participants, maybe a lot of our workshop experiences like that. Maybe some of the people comes with say, yeah, I know, good diet helps, exercise helps. I'm just like lacking the motivation to do that. And now, you were teaching all this, like it sounds like it's too far away from, I can't buy in because, they might be a lot of scripts saying, I don't think, I'm likely to change and be able, to benefit from this because my time, they might, a lot of the debates in their minds, saying, I have this limitation, I'm running short of time, So how can we help them to have a more buy-in so that they will be more ready to accept, say, yes, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to kick it off, to do this. Instead, we sense a lot of our participants just like keep debating, does that really work to me, knowing that, but it's just possible.
I think with the sessions, you can be very creative of what you facilitate. Like when I look at this and hearing Dennis say this, I could divide into a lot of activities, and like just to really put it in the conceptions of, you can, if you're eating healthy is one of the things, you can ask the group members to come up with 5-minute recipe to share with other people to make it look real. And it is from them as well, right? Do you know what I mean? So I think it's the way you put activities in this session, because there isn't anything that you can give them. You can't give them further than this. I mean, you can inspire people certain things, right? But then put that inspire, like for you, it's like less time to cook or less time to exercise. The group, like activities. 5-minute recipe, 2 minutes recipe, and it's from them. They wanted to try themselves.
And one important element is the management toolbox. We're supposed to, at the end, one of the ultimate goals is that they already have some kind of skills to manage. But then the workshop is expand, right? Expand their management skill and make it work to them. So we're supposed to have a stress management toolbox if you have the money to take away. So the stress band, those things we put in the toolbox, and also the tools generated from the group can put it in the toolbox. So for the social support group, originally we think that, for instance, after the second session, we make an action plan. Like we want to do 5 minutes exercise every day. So how does the group members support each other? So next week come back and share that kind of social support that built in. That's why we want to move the support group in the first section. For every session, I hope that they can try out those things within the group, and then as a support group come back and share how they do it. Right. So this is important to also to put it in the manual. It's actually also in the self-esteem group. We do that, right? So they support each other. They also have an action plan, and then how they do it, and then support her. They decide the link there. So within the group, they support each other. So we can actually do more detail within group planning.
That's a very good suggestion and questions. One idea I have is just right now is you can tell them, you can ask them among all this, what works best to you for your relaxation. When you have a stressful day, what would you do among all this? Give them this list: diet, exercise, rest, meditation, and all this. Tell them, ask them to. What do we? So if they come out from down, sometimes I just take a shower, or I just take a rest. Shower is like a rest. You can relate what they share with you to what you have here, and it's much more powerful. You tell them that it's important. It comes from down, it will be much more powerful. Okay, so learn how to fish rather than give them the fish. Okay, I will probably, there's not much to say, it's pretty straightforward in session 2. It will be very fun and with interaction, joining the activity with them, and if you run out of time in session 1, this is the best time to catch up.
5 minutes break, 5 minutes.
I think you should be okay. You have a whole hour. Just have a whole hour. 5 minutes break, okay. Washroom break.
Yes, sure.
他的学习但是就是我没有讲
I have this dehydrator. Maybe about 7 years. And I make it work every moment of it.
Can you use like the oven to do that?
You could, but you might be, you have to have a modern oven to do it, and then the temperature. And sometimes you have to have a fan to circulate thing like that. And it's not expensive. The dehydrator is not expensive. Like I probably pay off by making snack by now. I bought it about 8-9 years ago, about like $400. And it's like, I make snack every day. Now it's the same price. When it first, it was expensive then, but that's all I wanted for my birthday. So my family member put money together to buy it for me. It's not big. Yeah. You can
You
buy.
go on YouTube, they will teach you how to make a dehydrator yourself.
Oh really? I tried it with the oven. I burn things all the time. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, kale chips. That's the best. But
You
I
use the dehydrator too?
but I didn't have because I have food delivered to me all the time. And they didn't have a good organic kale, that's why I didn't make it. But when I have it, I think this is the season for it. Then I'll do it. And sea salt, vinegar.
You can put anything in there.
This is apple from yesterday. Oh, you ate my organic apples, but these apples are from yesterday. I don't want it back. I don't want it back. I was gonna say you can have it all.
27月開始睇佢都幾幾頁嚟㗎，26啊，佢係26頁，27頁開始係 workshop 1，書一收啦。你真係大家都係對啲 sign 入邊啲書一收㗎。咁你自己如果有啲 resources，你自己去買，自己 custom。我有個 PowerPoint 係將 Five Eyes presentation 係個半鐘頭呈曬出嚟嘅，就你仍然可以 go through Five Eyes，但係有啲地方你要快啲即係咁冇咗啲 exercise，即係嗰個 strictly seminar 就唔係 workshop，workshop 係俾佢 hand on 單向係 OK 嘅，你個 present 到嘅，單向 OK 嘅。
When you look at your style, each person are different. Each one is maybe the
主要就係 problem solving，因為始終出現畢業嘅時候需要知道，所以我唔會做花時間俾你試啊，又做啊咁，即係佢都知啊，譬如話 meditation 啊、massage 啊、take a walk 啊，咁佢哋其實呢啲 common knowledge 佢哋都知，咁我哋響個 workshop 我都highlight 下全部，呢啲你知嘅，但係你知道都好啦，自己個學人呢句説話。主要如果你真係想你要睇係乜咧，咁乜嘢令到你咁 stress？ 咁如果你係一個 user，你咪學一啲主要學啲 problem solving 嘅 skills 啦，出面好多生活。咁如果係 imagine project 你都大概知大方向嘅嗰個實踐。咁樣我嗰時候係夠時間嘅新聞嗰時候，咁你夠時間。通常係頭，我去過好多 depression 都係講好多呢啲學生係咁美輕。聽嚟聽去都係最基本嗰啲嘢，所以我通常將頭嗰啲咧，就你知啦，我快識㗎啦。遲啲先如果有時間先翻返轉頭。咁一去就去到你知唔知點解自己會 stress？乜嘢令到會 stress？咁而家 stress 嘅時候，你又係咁啊？所以我個人你通常我去親好多講 depression 都講話 symptom 你點知係 depress 其實個自己有冇 depression 我哋嗰啲你自己去睇㗎，好快我都好快 skip 講，好快但我唔會逐樣話講嘅，又你頭痛，你有冇頭痛或者個身有啲會有啲就會讀咗出嚟飛咗。咁你哋個時間就會正常嘅好夠嘅。如果係咁樣，咁同埋如果我發覺一樣嘢，因為我學嘢我都係有。我發覺頭先我講話分組呢啲冇俾太多時間。分組同埋唔好數1、2、3、4咁分組，坐喺度兩3個人一組。我唔使喐啊，四攤咗，同埋慳咗啲時間都幾難。有時喐完之後咧，有人就走去廁所，咁有人就翻嚟休息。咁我即刻3個，就咁走埋2、3個咁樣。咁啊，同埋傾完之後，通常都係俾佢哋出嚟聲咁。咁但係通常俾3分鐘佢傾一樣嘢。
Like if I were careful lunch, I don't even eat like
咁啊，然後我就問啦，每一組你傾完揾個代表，每一組揾定，到時問佢哋呢一組你傾成點啊？咁有人出聲，咁有啲出聲。如果太多組咧，你就係random 嘅3組。咁有少少去出下聲，然後其實我都自己有嘢想 present 出嚟。我就非常佢哋加埋，咁佢哋聽到，因為有時可能佢哋好個眼神。
Lisa asked me to get it, so we might forget it.
You forgot? You cannot.
trouble. Yeah.
You're trying to manage too much things. I manage
Lisa asked you for, can you just forward that?
Yes.
You manage your stress too.
我就特別打入去，但係又應該你如果接觸翻
都有㗎，我就因為好多
I'm saying.
No,
I was like,
no, touch anyway.
I did it.
I suck my soul. I make the real. Where's that movie? Every time I come on this, I bring an extra for her. She's, you know,
喺要俾譬如4、5個 website
mother-in-law to be
自己 screen 咗佢，
this one too, but
我
not
自己心係立張，
Is it competing or what?
太大。
Hey, you know, I don't need to compete.
我就啱啱3個 website 嗰幾個。
It's okay, it's okay. It's still right.
When did you
咁係
send
得，當係我自己。
No, no, Wednesday afternoon.
有啲我一早直打都會 source 出嚟，你可以可以 source 嘅。咁我
Crab meat? The real one or those?
Yeah. No, crab meat. I don't eat noodles. I only bring the soup and the thing. I don't have any noodles.
我估係康復嘅嘢。
But my mom, take the crab.
我全部佢知道，我只係將佢 structure 咗佢 put in into
Shelf. And then she takes the So she has traditional.
Sometimes like, is it Korean one?
No, from Italy.
Korean one?
I had no idea. Or Canadian one.
但係嗰個方法
wrong.
Because I
because I don't
I always, this is my traditional crab sheet, 7.
That's different every week.
What's it? You can do my
No, the thing is, we can send it the word is like, one day off. Okay.
I trust me.
Right, so like, what confidential?
Some confidential.
I finished the privacy act.
Private love letter.
Oh, I like to see that. This coffee water is so good.
From yesterday before. Did you try?
Too sweet for me. You know what is good? You put it in the oven for a bit, and crispy. Don't talk to her. I'm sick. She's gonna get you sick. I cannot be sick tomorrow. I have work tomorrow.
I have something to learn.
I have flu shot.
Flu shot is not like cold.
Did you get flu shot?
I didn't get it.
Because I know that
If I do not get the flu shot, I don't get sick.
you get sick a little bit first.
Yeah, you're supposed to.
I hope your daughter gets well soon.
No. You know what a flu shot is, right? They put virus into you. Your body works hard to, right? Later on, if anything, later on, if anything is that strong, your body gets strong. They build immune. You don't know that?
I know.
That's why your body has to be well before you take the shots. The shot is all the viruses from last year. It's attack you a little bit, so your body is like trying to fight back. Then when new virus this year attack you, you're stronger.
So that means
That's when they put virus into your
It's
body.
like people have like kidney failure or whatever. They shouldn't take it.
The body, like in terms of like your body function, it's not like having a cold or anything. But other illness is a problem. You build your immune system to move away from other viruses. I know that you need that, but sometimes you do. But I know that we cannot fight anything. By their point of view. But like, I mean like,
Did you grow?
I know that. I just feel like I
Do you want
On Wednesday.
Wednesday.
No, they, I sent her. Yesterday she was it's good for you to have a sixth child. But it's not easy to, yeah.
Only when you let my age, you look better.
True appreciation comes, right?
Yeah.
When it's gone.
Yeah, when it's
Human being.
I love it.
呢個啊，呢個你話你加翻呢個差唔多。
Now, coffee. I like the
呢個係康福本響度嘅，呢個
Unless she's giving us some.
即係我知明我明白。呢個 number one 啦，呢個差。